today I got the owner and managing director of Care Digital, Pierre Ymalay. Now, if you're wondering who Pierre is, Pierre and I, we go a long way back in when I was working at ACM Healthcare. So shout out to ACM Healthcare for loaning us this beautiful space from their Sydney office to create this podcast. This is an aged care podcast. Here we talk about everything aged care. Sometimes we talk about mental health, things that actually shaping these communities that we are currently living in. Pierre and Care Digital, what it does is basically creates videos, media and social media content for businesses. Now often we think that why it is important is no matter what we do in the community, if we don't know how to tell our stories in the entirety, the community or to the vast majority, people will not know why we do what we do. And the most important part in our lives are now why we do things, not what we do. And that's where Pierre comes in with his amazing set of skills and the passion that he brings out. Thank you, Pierre. And basically help you tell a story. Let's talk about aged care today.
Aged care? I'm a videographer. You can talk about aged care. Go on.
Okay.
I'm very versatile.
Yep.
It's actually our co-founder and lead creator, but managing director, same.
All right. So let's talk about aged care. How old are you, Pierre?
32.
32. I'm 42. 10 years old, 10 years age difference. But we both have experience in aged care industry from at a personal level.
Yeah.
Parents, grandparents, and I know how close you are with your family.
Yeah.
We're a migrant generation. I'm a first generation migrant. You're a second generation migrant. I mean, you're not a migrant, but your parents came in here, and you know that they are in that age now where they can access aged care funding.
Yeah.
How's that you have now aging parents? How's that shaping you? How's that impacting you?
It's surreal because I feel like if you've ever met my dad, he's just an older version of me, or I'm a younger version of him. And it's very surreal to see that he's starting to slow down and starting to, even actually just the other day, I called him and he had just woken up at 8 a.m. And that was a big deal already because he'd always wake up at 5, 6 a.m. It was hardwired in his brain to get up at that time. So just to see him wake up 2 hours, 3 hours later than he usually would was a bit like, oh wow, it's a bit confronting. So.
And how's he going health-wise?
Health-wise, he does have a form of cancer, 2 forms of cancer actually, and his treatments are very, how can you say, non-traditional, I guess. He's very invested in the spiritual side of things and having spiritual healing.
And how old is he, if you don't mind me asking?
That's a cool question. 72.
So he's into that age bracket where we obviously the industry operates in, and then he is in, he can access all these aged care fundings and whatnot.
Yeah.
What I want to know from you, that your journey with your dad, that him starting his senior's life in a way, like we are in the mid-40s, so we're middle-aged. Our parents are now into the seniors.
Yeah.
How's the interactions like? What do you guys talk about?
Well, that actually hasn't changed. I mean, growing up, once you get older, once you become an adult and your parents recognize that you're now an adult, the relationship always evolves. You're no longer a father-son. It's almost like, from a parent's perspective, okay, I did my job right. Now, and I'm proud of who he's become, and you just become more friends, if anything. You know, you have your conversation. The way the conversation unfolds now changes. It's not do this. It's more collaborative.
Yeah,
know, in a sense, you know
and
what I
I
mean?
think that works better. And I don't think do this, do that. And I've seen, and you have seen us, like a lot of clients, when you go and do this, do that, it doesn't actually work.
No.
What works is like, hey, let's do something together, because it's a much better approach.
Yeah, absolutely. So Yeah, in that sense, our relationships evolved, but it's stayed the same. Even though he's got this illness, it's still the same. You know.
Plus, you come from a very close knit family with your sisters, and now he's got grandkids. And I know that
Shout out to Jaden.
Jaden is Pierre's child, so shout out to Jaden too.
I'm probably gonna edit this. I'll just put a picture of him in.
But the thing is, like, what is interesting that in the Filipino community and in the many ethnic communities around the country, regardless of however many years, could be 100 years that you have come to Australia and now living here, that cultural values that you bring in through generations and generations, and I've seen a lot of people are like staying home and they want that familiar environment surrounded by the communities and loved ones, and I'm pretty sure it is the same. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I think I feel like the times have changed. It's always been, once you get to a certain age, you end up in a retirement village, aged care home. That's always just what it's been until recently with home care, when you guys sort of started doing home care. Because even when I was a recruiter, it was always residential aged care. It was never home. I mean, you guys had what, ACAT? Or what was before that?
Let's not talk about that.
What?
Let's not talk about that. I mean, home care has been there for years.
Yeah,
Years.
but it wasn't.
We never got the wind of it is because we never actually worked in the industry, right? We always worked in the nursing home side of the things, right? We never needed to. I mean, aged care community has been there for years, right? Decades. So we just never needed to go into that industry. You guys weren't. So
Yeah. But
now that we see our parents going through it, like if you give me the options, like which ones, I know for a fact, like I'm nothing against it. I like my folks to stay home and be cared for. That's just my personal preference.
Yeah. I think with my grandma, she started getting dementia, and I think over 2, 3, 4 years, she really deteriorated. And you could see how much stress it was causing for my aunties, so her daughters. And at that point, I'm thinking, would a residential aged care option be, so bad?
It is, because it's taxing.
It's very taxing. I saw it firsthand, how much it affected them, how temperamental they became, and how hard it became for particularly one of my aunties, having to wake up at 2, 3 a.m, being called in the middle of the night. And then eventually, one by one, she just kept forgetting names until there was just one name that she remembered, which was one of her daughters. So she lived with 2 of her daughters, but she could only remember one. And knowing her so well, she knew that she wasn't just calling that, she was calling for someone. She could even call for my other auntie. Her name was Tita Rodda. So she'd only call Remy. But when she heard that in the middle of the night, she could tell by the tone that she was using which daughter she was actually calling, which is amazing. But at the same time, she was still working a full-time job, having to wake up at 3 a.m, just like having a newborn. You know how tough that is? It doesn't last for years.
Yeah.
And this lasted for years, so that'll be absolutely taxing. So at that point, I'm thinking residential aged care might not be too bad. But now you're coming across a lot of people who want to stay home now.
How was it, like, that whole dementia journey? Because I know you were pretty close to your grandma.
Yeah, that
like
was tough too.
Watching her, like, the dementia is a whole different ball game. People in our age, they probably have experienced it, or some people know about it, but they don't actually know a lot about it. Or
you can know about it. Knowing about it and experiencing it is very different.
Different things.
Very, very different things. So
because there's an emotional attachment to it, right? Like
my grandma was the type of person that you had to make a booking to visit. Otherwise, she'd be out at the club on the pokies, or just at the local shopping centre, shopping, going eating Maccas, just meeting her friends. She was very social. So seeing her deteriorate the way she did was very, very heartbreaking. And you actually forget who she was. Once you're so deep into the dementia, you actually forget, from my perspective, you forget how she was until she passed away. And I think maybe even last year I was doom scrolling Facebook, and I ended up watching videos of her. And I was dumbfounded, because I was like, this is how she was. And I completely forgot. I only remembered my grandma with Alzheimer's disease. That was insane to just forget how independent, how how social she was, how strong she was. I mean, she'd call me at, I don't know, 6 p.m. saying, remember, you're bringing me to church tomorrow. And if you're late, church starts at 10:30. If you're there at 10:20, she's halfway there walking. She'll leave. She's like, if you're late, and we know we're in trouble. And then on top of that, doesn't matter how late it is, if you get there at 10:40 a.m., so the mass has been running for 10 minutes already, she'll walk in the middle of the mass straight to the front, sit down with her grandson or granddaughter, and we just got to sit there and take it. And she's angry. She's angry she's missed 10 minutes of the mass. And then it's just amazing. It's confronting to see
That
how
same
much
individual.
Alzheimer's can change someone. It's very sad. Very, very sad. So
Because I remember that journey with you, we remember that moments with you that we were quite concerned about you as well. And most people I know, the reason why I started the Aged Care podcast is to actually bring out these stories out. Because there's a lot more people like you and me who either work in the industry or not. It doesn't matter. You don't need to be in the industry to actually talk about your parents and grandparents and the journeys they've been through, the experience they're living through. Because a lot more people, a lot more Australians out there can actually listen to these stories and can go, hey, there are help. Probably we don't know how to get those help. The information is key.
Well, actually, this is a very, very important thing, because some people don't even know home care exists.
Yes.
And when you think getting someone in your home to take care of my parent, immediately you think that's expensive. But then what they don't realize is it's a government funded initiative. It's entitled. They're entitled to these benefits. They pay taxes for 65, 70 years. They're entitled to, they didn't start working from zero.
No.
So let's say 40, 50 years, they worked for these entitlements.
Yeah.
So even if they don't need it right now, and you see your parents and they're like 50, 60, and they're still spry, maybe they're still playing basketball or tennis or whatever sport they're playing, still do it, because it's a long process just to go through the assessments and seeing what kind of level of care. Once you're in there, going up and transitioning up to a higher level is a lot easier than rather than waiting till you're already a level 3 and then applying.
Correct. I was actually talking to an 85-year-old yesterday. It's a husband and wife. They're so cute, and they live in a retirement village, and they were basically there to look for a chairlift to go upstairs. And then I started talking about home care, and they asked me like, "What's that?"
Yeah.
I was like, "What's that?"
Exactly.
Mate, you need it. It's not you want it. You need it. Because they were also looking for like, hey, how do I get a cleaner privately? I was like, why are you looking? Are you a full pensioner? Like, oh yeah, we are part pensioners now. It's like, you can get a home care package. It's like, what's that?
Home care package? Yeah, so a lot of people don't realize.
A lot of people don't realize that.
Not even just like, what is
care,
it? They don't realize they're entitled to it.
Like you can actually apply for it, and that's when I started saying, it's like, hang on a second, if you apply today, this afternoon, you still have a wait time of 12 to 15 months. I mean, you should have applied it when you were turned 65 or 70 years old. Who cares? Just apply and then wait in the queue.
That's a PSA. That's a PSA, because if you're like, oh my gosh, my mom, my dad is so bad now, what do I do? And then you come across the home care stuff and you're like, oh, this is it. This is what we have to do. They're already bad. You're going to have to wait another 15 to 18 months before you can actually get help. So that's why you do it. Do it even if you don't need to do it.
Yeah, I mean, like, look, most people will have some signs of aging, right? Like, I've been making a lot of videos about it, because when I started making these videos and bringing out this information, and I kind of actually looked at my dad, and I started observing my dad a lot closer, like, right? And then I looked at my mom and my dad and the people in the community that I'm watching, and I'm kind of start to notice things.
How was it for you to sort of see your parents?
Well, my dad is pretty stubborn.
Because he was a strong person always.
Yeah, he still is. But the thing is, like, and this is the thing. So I know that for a fact he's extremely stubborn. He doesn't rely on any of our brothers. He hates that fact that he cannot control any of the outcomes that are happening around him. And then obviously he never had a fall, but he had loads of trips. So he's basically moments away from having a fall and have a catastrophic situation. And then he went to a religious pilgrimage recent time, and he had a fall, a terrible fall.
Yeah.
Now, then he, like I said this a lot, like his hearing has gone down, but he thinks having a hearing aid is a taboo. So that loss of hearing kind of created a bit of a balance problem. I'm not a doctor or a audiologist or such, but I do believe that's probably happening. He sometimes he goes out. He still does his morning walks and whatnot, but then my mum put an escorted person with him because...
How was that?
Oh, he hates it.
It's a generational
He sneaks out and he just goes. But then what happened was he almost got hit by a car. He almost got hit by a tram in front of my apartment. Right? So he came and visited me, and then the tram was just... And I literally pulled him. I was like, what are you doing, Dad? Like, he was like, no, it wasn't going to hit me. I was like, no, you are going to get hit by the tram. You know it's not because he didn't see it coming. He probably didn't register the fact how fast the tram was coming. He thought that he could just walk fast enough to get away from the tram, but he wasn't fast enough. In his mind, he thought, I can. But in reality, I could see the whole thing happening in a terrible way.
You know, it's funny you say that, because I just started playing basketball again. I'm probably the heaviest I've ever been. And some person at the game, say socials, you just play for 2 hours, rent a court for 2 hours, and then you play game after game after game. And one of the guys there, they actually live stream it. And then after they finish live streaming it, it just becomes a video. 1 hour, 2 hour video. And I watched myself play. Mind you, I'm still making shots. I'm still playing good. But the way I feel in my head when I'm playing compared to what I'm watching is stupid. I look terrible when I play. I hate it because what I feel when I'm in the moment and playing, I'm like, oh, I'm still an athlete, you know what I mean? I'm still got it. But then when I watch it back, I look like I look like an uncle playing.
Well,
but that's the thing, like that's the mind, right? So your dad probably thought he was going really quick in his mind, when in actual fact
his legs weren't moving as fast.
Exactly. And right. I think that's just it's a perception that you don't realize. That's something he probably just hasn't realized. But there's other instances where it's a generational thing and they have too much pride.
Yeah.
To do it. Like even my dad doesn't really need care right now. He's got a very aggressive type of cancer though, so it could happen quickly.
Yeah, and that's what I was telling you, right? Like you'd rather be inside the system and then apply for those fundings and whatnot.
What's the process?
Well,
what's the process once you're already registered? Say you don't need it, but you already apply and you
look assessed. In your classic example is if I'm talking about Pierre's dad here, the first thing I would do just go to myagedcare.gov.au and apply for an online assessment. And the online assessment is very, very simple, like extremely simple. It's very visual, very easy to read. It's no jargons in there. You just tick, if he has a mobility issue, then you tick the mobility issues. There's pictures there, like where does he need help, what type of activities that he needs help with. Then you do that. Then you move to the next page where you enter his Medicare details, then your details. If you're applying for him or whoever's applying for the care recipient, then you need to add your details. Then you do press submit, and then you receive an acknowledgement letter that it's been submitted. Now in your dad's case, because he's in such an advanced stage, we probably need to contact the local ACAT or an ACAT for New South Wales, which is known as Aged Care Assessment Team, or in Victoria it will be known as Aged Care Assessment Services. We may contact them and go like, look, this gentleman needs, he cannot wait 15 months, right?
Yeah,
15 to 18 months.
If it's a dire situation.
Because he needs help now.
Yeah.
Right? Everything happens in God's timing, but he needs help now.
Yeah.
Like if I wait 15, 18 months, it's just going to be too long. And I've seen that happening.
Let me ask you a question. So if you've already done that, you've got the process, it's been 15 or 18 months, and then you realize it's getting worse. How long is the process from going from this level to this level?
Like in a normal time, it's 12 to 15 to 18 months.
Still?
I mean, generally that's what happens, right? Unless we start picking up the phone and we start talking to the ACAS and ACAT team and basically plead your case.
Expedite this
Yeah, we expedite the
process.
situation, but the thing is, it still doesn't guarantee you, right? You still have to create a case. Clinically, you have to develop a case. Talk with your GP report, your oncologist report, your case management report from your organization, and then you put it together. Then you call my agedcare, and
So many liaisons.
yeah, but because there are also other people waiting in the queue, right? So it is a pretty good process. Now, the reason why there's a queue, and most people think like, oh, there's not enough healthcare staff members to go around and do this assessment. We have a healthcare workforce shortage. How do we know this? We've been working in the industry for so long, right? So we don't have enough people to go and do assessments all around the country. Australia has an aging population, and it is increasing. I think I was reading a report that by 2060 or 66, that 20% of the population will be above 65.
Wow.
We're not that far off.
But do you know what the other issue is? There's such a stigma around aged care in the healthcare industry. In allied health. In allied health, you don't want to do aged care. You want to work with athletes or general population. In occupational therapy, you want to work more case management ones, roles.
Now you want to do NDIs because it became
NDIs,
like a whole thing became from caring to like, oh, if I'm an OT in NDI sector, I can make a lot of money.
Yeah.
Right. So, okay, great. I mean, if you're a clinician in whatever, you'll make a lot of money in life anyway, in general. But then it kind of like, I think the last 5 to 10 years, we have seen that shift. Like when we were recruiting for OTs back in the days, that was way different than what we have now. Like people were more interested about, the conversation would be like, oh, what type of rehabilitation we're going to be working on? Is it going to be inpatient? Is it going to be outpatient? Is it going to be out in the community? They were interested to talk about this, like, oh, what kind of trainings we're going to get. Now it became more like transactional, like, oh, how much you're going to pay me? That's the first opening conversation.
Yeah, I remember when I was a recruiter, I had a new grad ask me for aged care work, and I go, amazing. And they're like, I'm willing to work in Goulburn. Nothing's in Goulburn. I'm like, amazing. And he goes, but I want 100K. And I go, did you just graduate? And he goes, yeah, I'm waiting for my certificate to come in the mail. I go, look, you know what? If you can get 100K, take it. Because I can't.
But funny enough, we have seen people are getting 6-figure salaries.
Yeah, I know, bite my tongue.
With any experience at all.
Made me bite my tongue. I'm like, unbelievable.
Yeah, well, that's what happens when you have a staffing shortage all around the country, right? And many recruiters will come in and will attest to that kind of conversation. Many aged care providers are now have gone, like, obviously we got some really good schemes going on from the federal government, like you can go to PNG and can get workers, and then you go to different other parts of the world and you can get skills workers to come in and work here. Victoria is running 2 years free nursing program and whatnot. So it's a grassroots level conversation, right?
Yeah.
So you can only import so many healthcare staff from overseas. People, school children, they need to be told about these things. Like, hey, it's not gonna go away.
That's a whole nother issue. So,
Yeah,
do you think our kids are gonna grow up wanting to be physiotherapists?
I don't know what they're gonna be like, but the thing is, if you know next 5 to, like, it's a 10-20 year problem, right? We have a hospital bed crisis, which is the reason why we have a hospital at home program. We want people to stay home but get post care.
Still the same amount of care.
Like care, the nurses are going out there and giving you the care instead of getting hold of those, like, you're hogging the beds.
Yeah.
Right, you can actually stay home and can get care. Why we're doing this? We're doing this because we don't have enough hospital beds anymore.
Yeah.
It all comes down to workforce, right? You don't have enough workforce. Residential nursing is the same thing. Not enough beds, not enough carers. We have experienced that firsthand.
Yeah.
In every single agencies or every single providers who work in a brokerage environment, we have seen. Right? How many people that we're short of staff.
Everyone's short of staff.
Right? When the bells are ringing, people are in their dirty nappies for hours. Can you imagine, like, Jaden goes to daycare and for 2 hours they didn't change his nappies? How would you feel?
Or, if I pick him up with a dirty nappy.
Yeah.
And then I change it, and you can see it's been there for a while. And you can tell when everything's dried up. Like,
Yep. I picked
that's
up
horrendous.
my youngest KD from daycare one time, and he had full rashes all over. And I was like, hang on a second, why is it? Oh, we were short of stuff,
Oh my gosh.
right? But I didn't feel good about it.
No.
I didn't like it. The same thing, if your parents or grandparents are in the nursing home and you find out and you go there, and you're not going to find out if you don't go and visit them on everyday basis,
Yeah.
and you all the time you rock up and you see them in that condition, how would you feel?
Yeah, that's the other thing. I mean, you have a lot of people out there that are, I guess, in it for. When you think of aged care, you think of money. That's the honest truth. And very rarely do people really care.
I've always said it, like, you can't teach someone with a certificate how to care. You're either born with it or you don't.
Exactly. So
There are some amazing people out there.
imagine putting your parents in a home and then realizing they're understaffed. That's terrible.
I mean, it's not their fault. Right?
I know, but
it's not no one's fault. It's an industry-wide issue.
Yeah, that's
Right. Aged care of home
tough.
care comes in at least. I mean, I'm not saying this is the best of the best. You need both parties to work together.
Yeah.
All three of there are three units, right? There's the care recipient, there's the family, and there's the care provider. It's basically a triangle situation. You all have to work with each other
Yeah.
to ensure that the right amount of care is being provided. And like 90% of the days we're having managing expectation, right? Because there's so much shortage of staff. Sometimes the same staff is doing 3 different jobs. They're working at a residential aged care facility for 4 to 5 hours, then they're going to do home care, then they're picking up a night duty shift somewhere else.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are like visa holders, international students and whatnot.
Yeah.
That's the true picture of the industry.
Yeah.
There's no other way to say it.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So what do we do?
What do? I
What
don't
are you
know.
gonna
We just keep working hard. Try to make a difference somewhere.
Stay understaffed forever. Just work hard.
Well, I think like what we all need to do is just educate more people about the need of instead of not doing anything, just study those subjects if you're like interested in really helping.
What I find crazy is that even if you do have my aged care, to go from a level 1 to a level 2 is still going to take the same amount of time.
Yeah. So it's basically the way it works.
Whatever, but doesn't it make you might as well do it now while you can?
Yeah.
Before
But
you
the thing
need
is,
it?
like, the great
Doesn't
part
that make
is
that redundant though? Because it's going to take
it is
15,
look,
18 months.
Like, we complain a lot about the funding models of the systems, right? All the systems are evolving, or it has to evolve. You cannot have, we have written this funding model, and this is it. We're never going to change it.
Yeah.
Then it's not going to work.
Yeah.
Like for an example, I'm excited to see and work with support at home, because right now home care funding is annual. Under support at home, it'll be quarterly. And just like you said, like if you're a level 2 now needs to go to level 3, you got to go back into the system and wait another 15 months, right? In support at home, if your condition changes, you move up to the next level or to the 2 levels up or whatever in the next quarter.
Oh, so they do reviews every 3 months.
Every 3 months. The funding is not annual, it's actually quarterly.
Oh, so you can get an increase in funding in 3 months.
I mean, if your health condition changes, you can
Technically,
apply.
yeah,
Technically, it should go up. But now they're saying by 2027, and that's the goal. By 2027, it's a single assessment system. So by 2027, they will reduce the wait time from 15 months to 3 months. That's the goal. So they privatized it, which is great. So they had a tender, and there's a lot of great companies won the tenders, and they have additional workforce, or they're utilizing whatever workforce they have to do these single assessments, right?
Yeah.
So the more people are now doing the assessments, it will automatically reduce the pressure on the current health system. That way, whoever is waiting for years on end, they're going to get the assessment done.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
So I like that. I think it's great.
When is Support at Home rolling out? As a rollout?
1st of July 2025. It has 8 levels of funding up to $78,000 a year. Now what's happening is in the current home care package, for an example, if you need a walking stick to a wheelchair to a hospital bed, you actually have to manage you have to take it from your whatever fund you have left. In the support at home, there will be additional funding for assistive technology and home modification. like for an example, look at a couple of clients that we have, they want to install grab rail, or someone is actually going like, hey, I'm going to save up $1,700. I'm not going to utilize it. Even though mom needs it, we're not going to utilize it. She's a level 4 care recipient, because we want to save up enough to pay for the ramp.
So does it roll over?
Now, in the current model I'm talking about,
Yeah.
right? You're saving up your whatever fund you've been given, because the fund is, let's say you get $60,000 after your fees, care management, package management fees, whatever amount is left, you distribute it equally across 12 months. So let's say you have $4,000. Let's take an example. You have $4,000 a month, right? Now the RAM probably costs, let's say 20 grand. Let's say it's 10 grand. Now the family is planning, I'm going to save up $2,500 each month, not touch the fund at all, get to $10,000, then pay for the ramp.
Home modification, is it?
Correct.
Right.
Now, for 4 months, I will reduce my services, all the other services that this person needs, to continuously live at home in an independent way, safely, life full of quality, right? Who is going to give that support? The family members. So it's taxing on the family too.
Yeah.
So someone has to come and help them out.
Yeah.
Under the support at home, what they have done, like, hey, we recognize that problem. We're going to give you separate funding for home modification based on your priority, high, medium, low.
So that's support at home.
Support at home, which is great, which I think is great, because now if you need a wheelchair, you don't have to stop your personal care.
You don't have to like be stingy, basically.
You don't have to compromise your care.
Yeah,
You don't have to compromise.
A better word.
Yeah. Don't say stingy. Yeah, you don't have to compromise your care to get the thing that you need.
Yeah.
There will be additional funding for end of life care. We all know that you want your final moments to be as dignified as possible. Right now, when we talk about dignity, and I have worked with quite a few clients personally at a one-on-one level to provide that end-of-life care support. It is expensive because the workforce is expensive, and it is a 24/7 care.
Yeah.
It is not 10 hours care. It is a 24/7 care. Everybody is involved. Palliative care team is involved. Carers Gateway is involved. Home care providers are involved. Private funding is involved. Family members are involved. It is expensive. It is tiring. All you want to ensure that the final moments you can do everything in your power so that
They're comfortable.
It's comfortable, it's dignified, it's not taxing on the family. So under support at home, you will have additional funding just for end of life care.
Yeah.
I think around $25,000, and I whatever I've experienced in my life, I think that is great.
Yeah.
It will help so many individuals. That the final moments can be, you want to spend more time with your loved ones. You don't want to be thinking about, fuck, I need to pay another $5 grand this week.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I don't have enough funding in my home care package. You gotta call a meeting in the family, like, okay, we need to put more money in.
The normal funding, the home care funding doesn't account for.
No, it will be there.
Oh, right.
As well as in separate funding. So you get more funds to actually look after the final moments.
Right.
Right now, if you do it, whatever funding you got left, you
Yes.
gotta bring it forward as much as you
Yeah,
can.
that's the current model, you mean?
Yeah, but in
Like
the future,
the support
support at home, you'll have additional funding.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
So if you had 60,000 and you've already spent 50,000, you'd only have 10,000 left for your home to make you comfortable at home.
Well, it's an additional funding of $25,000.
That's with the support. I mean, with the current model. At home
With the
care.
current model, you only have a funding of 60 grand.
Only, yeah. So if
Yeah,
you spend 50,
then out of the $60,000, I mean, I'm talking about the highest level of funding, right?
yeah.
Let's say 60. Let's say to round it up, it's $60,000, right? It's not. It's a little bit more than that, but I'm saying it's rounded up to 60 grand. Then you take away the fees. There's a fee cap of 35% in the current model.
Right.
So whatever fees that everybody charges, that comes off that 60 grand. Then the remaining balance you have equally distributed over 12 months. Right. Now probably you can bring forward some of that funding to help, but there's only so much you can do.
Yeah.
If you have an additional funding, like about $20,000 or $25,000 that they're talking about. That's
It's
gonna
allocated.
just
Yeah.
for end of life care.
Oh wow.
Like, how good is that? Like, you
Yeah.
don't have to, like, a couple of our common friends who have gone through that process, that we have helped, they were spending like $5,000-6,000 a week, and lucky they could afford. Not everyone can actually do that.
Yeah.
So I believe it is a great model. Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, every model will have its pros and cons, but you can't always look at the cons. You have to, like I said before, like, you have to play with the cards that you've been dealt with.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And like, this is where you come in. Like, you can probably, I know that you do a lot of videos and you've been storytelling a lot. And part of your storytelling is like, the reason why I wanted to do this podcast with you is because I want you to share these stories through your lenses to the whole communities around us, because you do such a brilliant job on it.
Thank you.
Storytelling is something different, and I want people to understand this. It's no matter what we do behind closed doors, if you can't share those stories for the vast majority of the people, no one will ever know like what happens behind the closed doors.
Yeah. I think when people see, that's why I'm a big fan of what you're doing on Instagram now, because when people see things like this, you don't actually know Archie. You don't get to know Archie. But when you hear him talk about how passionate he is with aged care and all the information that you share, you do it so passionately, and you also tap into your own personal experiences. You've mentioned your father and your sons a few times, and that's really good. That's a mark of great storytelling, because it helps your viewers to see who you are as a person. You know, what kind of personality you are. When you go, and same as my Instagram, vice versa, if you go onto my Instagram, you'll see a lot of comedy, because that's just naturally who I am.
Correct.
Well, you know, a part of who I am. You know, I'm very.
And that's the authentic part. And what you do the best with your cameras is that when you tell a story, and I've worked with you for a long time now, and all our Instagrams and everything is now kind of Care Digital Media Productions, and the way you advise us to do it, and how you have cut our social media contents, and how you present us to the crowd, I'm not doing anything. I'm just sharing my stories through you, and you make it happen.
Yeah.
The whole reason we started doing agedcare podcast, because me and you, we had a lot of brainstorming about this, and agedcare podcast didn't just started because I wanted to bring our stories. It's because I knew how to tell that story through Pierre. Right. And when we started talking about it, and we said, like, look, we are not famous people.
No.
And we don't want to be famous people.
I do. I want to be.
Okay, maybe he does. I don't. But what we felt, that we've been working in this industry for so long, and we have heard so many different stories, and we have experienced so many different things. We just wanted to bring it out, because we genuinely believe that if we bring it out, we can actually help shape a lot of people in the community.
Not just, I mean, like, also help people like us, our age, where our parents are getting older, to realize that you shouldn't wait. Don't wait till it's too late. You just did a conference about this. Yeah.
Like,
don't wait till it's too late, because there's care that they are absolutely entitled to. You worked, and we will be entitled to it eventually as well. Even if you don't need it, you should claim it. It's just like the subsidy during COVID that the government was offering to give you, like, meal vouchers and all that stuff. They're entitlements that you have, that you should utilize. And that's the same with my aged care. And for your parents and for yourself eventually, you should just use it.
I mean, I'm now 42 years old. For a fact, I know.
Damn.
In about 24 years' time, that I will be eligible to do it, right? What I find absolutely, like, profound is that most people don't have the information, and most of the organization, we hold off information from oversharing it, because they think, like, why are you giving away information? To me, it's like, just give it away.
Are you trying to help or not, though?
I mean,
you know what
like,
I mean?
if you wanna genuinely move this society ahead, you can't hog the information and go, this is just for me to use to my advantage.
Yeah.
I'm just going to give it away.
Because you're genuinely trying to help.
I mean, look, the funding system is there. Whether you choose me or not, that's up to you. That's your thing to do.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not going to come and tell you what to do. That's you to do. But if there's information that's designed for you to know, and how did we all ended up here is because when we started helping Mark's grandma or Paris's grandma, I started going deep into the detail, and I was like, okay, this is overwhelming amount of information, and they don't have the time.
And this is why it's important when you do, is because the information is there, but it's just not easy to filter through what you're actually receiving, what you can get, and this is a form of learning. I actually thought I had a learning disability for a long time, but I realized I need to understand it in my way to learn it.
And same, we're all learning from
and that's
it.
what you
this
should.
Is where you
that's
come
what you're
in.
doing, though.
And this is where you come in, and because you made it happen. Yes, I wanted to share that, but I just didn't know how to do it.
Yeah.
Care Digital Media, and you yourself, you came up with the ideas like, hey, this is where the world is going for a 40-year-old. We're not concerned about the world where it is for an 80-year-old.
Yeah.
Because they're already in it.
Yeah.
But there's a big group, which is our generation. They're not in there yet.
Yeah.
Right?
But your parents are.
But your parents are. Your grandparents are. They're
Yeah.
so in it.
Yeah.
And you made it happen. Frankly speaking, you made it happen for us.
I wouldn't say that.
Like you made it happen like you gave us ideas, you designed it, how it's gonna roll. You created the content planning, you helped us doing the content, and you're recording it, you're editing it, you're helping us projecting it in front of the crowd that this is how the storytelling needs to happen, and this is how you have done it. There's no two ways about it.
Yeah.
I'm not the media guy. I had zero clues about it.
You've helped though.
Like,
you've actually gone out and actively tried to find people to help you get better.
right, like, yeah, I mean, you don't need to know everything. There are specialists in the industry. Like, look, you can try to do everything and try to be the jack of all trade, or you conveniently choose what you do best and you invest your entirety of the time in that one, while someone is best at something else, you let them do what they do best. And that's what we have learned in the business, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to do everything yourself.
Yeah.
You just hire the right person, right? You hire an asset, you invest in an asset who's going to grow your organization, and that's what you have done.
Amazing.
Right? That's what Care Digital
Thank you.
Media has done for Salveo Home Care and for the ACM group. So
Still doing.
Yep.
Still doing.
yeah, and the whole reason why ACM Healthcare is a leading recruitment agency is because of your storytelling. You have told so many stories through our regular videos through LinkedIn. We walk into a conference and people know. We walk into a student conference, people know who we are. We became the industry expert without vocalizing all the time.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? We didn't need to market ourselves. You created those personal brands for us.
I sort of harnessed what we already had.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, sometimes you need that expertise, right? We weren't the expert. You were, and you helped us shape that part of our identity.
Yeah.
And I think that is what is important in industry. Folks, if you are out there and you want to tell a story to help change these communities for better, to make it stronger, to make it a lot more kinder, work with Care Digital Media, because everything that we are trying to do, like I mentioned, that it's coming deeply from the heart. We're trying. Someone needs to try. Some of us needs to try, and that's where Care Digital Media makes it smart, because you need a platform. You need someone's expertise to tell those stories, and it's not just a camera you're following around. It's just how you tell the story, because the world is changing, and we need to be in that change and appreciate the change, then embrace the change, and then bring it out the way people adopt it. Change doesn't happen just because one person is trying to do it. Change happens because everybody is in it, adopting it, and willing to do it.
Yeah.
Thank you for helping us with that.
No worries, man.